Welcome to No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I'm your host, Rick Becker, our co-host, Lori Hintz. So we've got Mike Lee, a Freedom Fest interview. He's not in the house. I'd like for that.
Wouldn't that be great?
It would be awesome.
As it was, this was pretty good being able to speak to him one-on-one.
Yeah, it was probably my my high point for Freedom Fest because we had. We'll talk about it more, but I had a great chat with him off air as well.
That's the way it usually goes, too, by the way.
Yeah. Of course.
That's Murphy's Law of broadcasting. The stuff off the air is the best stuff, right?
Yep, exactly.
So today we are going to start off with a little recap. I got to attend on Saturday the Rock Your Health Summit, the Health Freedom North Dakota Rock Your Health Summit, which is at the Bismarck Event Center, and it was very fun. You and I, we'll get to that within this, but because I have a picture, but you and I both attended the VIP dinner the night before, so he got a nice preview taste of what was going to happen the next day, and I got the whole thing. The whole shebang was an 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. summit with 6 different speakers. Now, this is basically, you remember when you were a kid and you had to do show and tell? This is like show and tell on adult scale. It was fantastic for me to, I know, don't even. So this is the beautiful part of the summit. The summit was full of information. It had fabulous speakers, and I really enjoyed it. It was put on by the group, which is called Health Freedom North Dakota. Their website, you may have heard before, is healthfreedomnd.org, and they are a 501c3 organization. I'll show their logo in just a moment. But first, last year I attended the first health summit that they held as a group. They had just organized, and they held this amazing group. Last year they had Del Bigtree on, and if you know anything about Del Bigtree, he's fantastic. He does Highwire, I believe. Anyway, they had 3 presenters last year. This year, they doubled that and had 6 different presenters, and they were all very, very great people. So I'm going to show the first picture, which is of who was at the summit. So you can see the picture there. The Health Freedom North Dakota logo, of course, on the right. And the deal with this is that these people were just fantastic speakers. On the upper left-hand corner, Dr. Jim Meehan, Wayne Rohde, Susie Olson Corgan, Jennifer Margulis Phd, Kevin Berry Esquire, and also Dr. Bob Zajac. It was held on August 21st, and then, as I mentioned the night before, then it was a big VIP dinner that we got to go to, a meet and greet. Although I didn't do any meet and greeting with them that day, I did some meet and greeting with them the next day on Saturday after the summit had concluded. So I'm going to kind of go through what happened and let you know that it was upstairs at the Bismarck Event Center exhibit hall. They held it in the same place that they did last year. And the attendance was, well, it was, I would say about 300 people if I had to guess. And I did actually make a phone call later on today to one of the organizers of the group, one of the Health Freedom North Dakota people, Carrie Roller, told me that last time around, what they had done is they had started selling tickets in April for an event this time of year, so they had a lot more lead time. This time they were scrambling, trying to decide if they were going to even be able to finance it, get it done, and so they didn't even start selling tickets until July 2nd, but they still sold 256 tickets in advance, and there were about 50 walk-ups. So last time there were about 350 people. This time there were about 300 people there, which was amazing. One of the coolest things that happened is the organizers at one point during the day had all of the healthcare workers that were in attendance stand up. And it was about a third of the room.
No kidding.
It was about 100 people. And
Crazy.
It was really exciting to see that. We were all just kind of shocked at how many people were there for that, and that was really, really cool. So that was very nifty. So the deal is we went through a bunch of different speakers. Our first speaker was Bob Zajac, and I admit this pediatrician cracked me up. He was very funny at the dinner the night before, but he was even funnier on stage. He's just got a great sense of humor. He'd say something like, vaccines are not damaging at all to you. And then he would his verbal was up, or he would hide behind something. He was hilarious. He was very, very funny, but he was very honest, and he's a very learned pediatrician, and he was fantastic. He is not in the least bit anti-vaccine. He is rather informed consent, and so that's what he spoke on. Next up was a Bismarck Century High graduate, a guy named Wayne Rohde, and he is an author and co-founder of the Vaccine Safety Council of Minnesota. He also does a podcast which is called Right on Point, so if you want to check that out. I did get to speak to him a little bit after the summit, and I would love to have him on the show, and he assented to do that, so we will try to schedule him and have him on the show. He's written a couple of books, the second of which just came out, and this one is called Vaccine Court 2.0, and he spoke about the vaccine court. So that was interesting. I didn't know anything about the vaccine court until his speak. The last speaker before lunch was someone else with whom I spoke after the summit, and I hope to have her on as well, and her name is Susie Olson Corgan. I found her inspiring. She was what I would call a super mom. You know, you're hearing about these super moms who across the country are making change. She was one of those inspired moms who became a super mom. She told her story about her only son, her young son, who was injured by vaccines at age 1. And she is a co-founder of a grassroots organization which is called Initiatives for Family Health, or I4FH, abbreviated. The website is Initiatives for Family Health, all one word, .org. And the homepage on that is super cool too. I was looking at that earlier, and it says, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. A Margaret Mead quote, which is right at the
quote.
At the top of the page. Its mission, it also says, is creating a community to make change for a healthier world by advocating for informed decision making in broad aspects of health and wellness for all family members of all ages, and empowering individuals to be leaders through education, support, and action. So she was fantastic. I really very much enjoyed her. Then we broke for lunch, but just before lunch we broke out into individual regions. They'd had on our lanyards, on our name tags, an individual region that we were in. So we were able to network, which is the greatest thing of the whole. That was why this summit was important. Networking and learning that you're not alone in your views. Just having people around you that share those views was great. It was a great way to connect with other cynical and skeptical people. So that was cool for me. I enjoyed that. After lunch, we had a speaker named Dr. Jennifer Margulis Phd, an award-winning science journalist and author, and she was amazing. She's been researching and writing about health for about 15 years. She has had a #1 Amazon bestseller book, and her articles have appeared in places like the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Smithsonian. So she opened people's eyes with regards to the benefits of getting sick and building immunity, which was great. She said some weird stuff about worms, too. Ask me privately. Also, Kevin Barry then was next, and we have had him on the program. If you want to go back and look, July 8th was the day. I would like to put in a plug for going to our YouTube channel and looking on that show for reference, especially if you are interested in religious exemptions, because he gave us great information on that. He is the founder and president of First Freedoms, Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit, which is dedicated to advancing the freedoms guaranteed in the First Amendment in all 50 states. I brought along with me, you can probably see this little white thing, everybody's eyes are already drawn to it. I brought along my pin purposely so that you could see it. It is Liberty Now. It's just the greatest logo. I love that. And he talked about, and I have a bunch of slides. First of all, let's show this first picture of the whole panel that was at the dinner that Rick and I were at. This is Kevin Barry's book first, Vaccine Whistleblower. And then beyond that is, of course, this picture of the group. And Rick, what was your impression of the panel?
Well, they were a varied group of individuals, and some were very passionate and wanting to get out there. Others were more subdued. They each had a different angle of why they were there, and I think together each of their messages really pulled together one sort of unifying message of awareness and of being concerned about what we call health freedom.
Right. Yeah, I thought they were fantastic. That evening, Bob Zajac was hilarious and started giving information as he hid under the table so nobody could see him saying it, and we laughed and laughed and laughed. And then all 6 presenters just had varying views. The final one, of course, was Dr. Jim Meehan, who has advanced training in ophthalmology, ocular inflammation, immunology. He spoke on weaponized pseudoscience, which I thought was fantastic too. It was an excellent cross-section, I would say, of speakers. All in all, I would recommend it if you get a chance to go next year. I would recommend it for those who are interested in information. If you're looking for information regarding exemptions, if you are a healthcare worker, if you'd like more information, this is a great resource, healthfreedomnd.org.
Very good. Very good. Next up, folks, our Freedom Fest interview with Senator Mike Lee. Come right back.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with 1 truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with 1 truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature Heroes, with the region's only Hero meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground, enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
Welcome back to No Apologies. And so this is an interview that, I don't know, I was saving. Like I say, Mike Lee's one of my favorites. Not only this interview, one of my favorite senators. He is so down to earth. And yet he has such a practical way of standing up for liberty.
He is the senior senator from Utah, and his junior senator from Utah is Mitt Romney.
Yes.
which is kind of weird because they're a little different in age, and you would think that the senior would be senior, but
Yeah.
it's not.
And he's been a senator from Utah. Mike Lee has for about 10 years, and he's only about 50.
Right?
Yeah, so little jelly. Anyway,
he's impressive. He is.
Let's go ahead and roll it.
See?
Yeah. All right, folks, we are at Freedom Fest in Rapid City, South Dakota, and I'm very, very happy to have our next guest, Senator Mike Lee from Utah. Senator, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
I, being a quote-unquote liberty legislator for the state of North Dakota, I follow you. I've had the opportunity to meet you a few times when we've done various liberty legislator things around the country, and I think you set an example that all conservative congressional delegation members should aspire to. And I think it's fantastic. I've also read your book. So enough accolades, right? Let's get down to business. I read recently, and I'm so pleased about you working with Bernie Sanders, and especially for the audience here at Freedom Fest, I'm sure they must be gaga over it, but completely reworking how Congress does AUMFs, right? Authorization for the use of military force. Can you tell our audience a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Senator Bernie Sanders and I, along with Chris Murphy, another one of my Senate Democratic colleagues, this week introduced the National Security Powers Act. And its purpose is basically threefold. We're trying to address the war powers, certain arms sales that are considered, high profile and high risk, and also emergency declarations and their effect. In all three areas, we've kind of allowed the executive branch to be a combined legislative and executive branch. We've allowed the executive branch, headed by the president, to basically become a super legislature. And so in all three instances, in the National Security Powers Act, this bill that we introduced this week, we're trying to take that power back and put it back where it belongs under the Constitution, which is in Congress.
Absolutely. And what I like about it, and what I've been calling for, is that there is going to be an expiration date or a time limit because these are being used for decades upon decades. So I think that is brilliant as well.
Particularly in the war power, it becomes particularly egregious in the war power and also in the case of emergency powers. But presidents can get us involved in these little mini wars, and they get us involved a little bit, and then they get us involved more. So we've been fighting this unconstitutional, undeclared civil war in Yemen against the Houthi rebels since 2015, under three different presidents. And under the National Security Powers Act, we wouldn't allow things like that. If the president maintained that he had to act immediately and there wasn't time to go to Congress, at the latest, that power under this bill would expire after 20 days, as would the funding.
Fantastic. I think that a lot of people believe that if Congress does not have the fortitude to declare something or to vote on something, at least, we shouldn't ask our young men and women to have the fortitude to put their lives on the line. So.
Exactly. And we saw this play out a few years ago. In 2013, President Obama decided that he wanted to go to war in Syria. He wanted to send U.S. troops into Syria. And to his credit, in that instance, he said, maybe we ought to allow Congress to weigh in on it. Maybe we ought to have Congress authorize the use of military force here. And so we reconvened. We were out on recess at the time. We came back to Washington. We were briefed on it. And the people's elected lawmakers in Congress, Democrat and Republican House and Senate, resoundingly came back with no. There's no clear path to victory here. We don't even know what victory looks like, and we stayed out.
Yes. Yeah, that was fantastic. Let me transition to a different topic. I mentioned being a liberty legislator, like we like to call ourselves. I've had the opportunity to meet with several from around the country at various events, and we have discussions because some of us are interested in maybe moving on to DC to try, because we have this idealistic view of what we can do if there are enough of us to change the country. I'm starting to see that fade a little bit, and primarily because of how far our country has gone into debt with the fiat currency. And I see even amongst my peers in this particular category that they don't really know what we can do, if there is anything we can do, and therefore they might be losing interest in moving on to your level to try and help the country.
Look, it's understandable. People feel discouraged, especially right now, and over the last year and a half. We've seen a government that was already spending $1 trillion a year more than it was bringing in at the peak of the economic cycle with record low unemployment. And then we went and spent $6.6 trillion last year.
Yeah.
and our national debt's approaching $30 trillion. So yeah, I understand people are discouraged. It is in moments like that we really need fierce defenders of liberty, because look, this whole big government thing has had a nice long run, a horrible run, a reign that really has caused a lot of problems. I believe it's coming to an end, and we need liberty-minded lawmakers now more than ever.
Gotcha. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that might ask you, or might force you to sort of have a crystal ball almost, right? So when it comes to COVID, we're looking at new variants, we're looking at all sorts of concerns. Do you foresee a situation in which there will be a battle in Congress, in the Senate, over a nationwide restriction, like a nationwide mask mandate, if and when there is a resurgence of some variant of COVID?
Yeah, that's always going to be the impulse. Power always tries to move uphill, meaning it tries to concentrate at the highest power that it can plausibly sustain. And it's one of the reasons why I'm such a fierce defender of federalism and separation of powers. Our Constitution was designed specifically to protect the people against the dangerous accumulation of power in the hands of the few. And it's why now more than ever we've got to push back on the idea that such decisions should be made nationally. Look, if a city, a town, a county, even a state wants to do those sorts of things, it may be their economic funeral that they're bringing in. But we can't let the entire nation go all at once. Moreover, the Constitution doesn't make that a national issue. It's a local.
Right. So,
He's
good
so
stuff.
logical. He's
He
so
is.
smart and logical and well-spoken.
Yes, and a term I would use for him is dispassionate, which is good. He's not jumping up and down. He's not using emotional language. He's just laying it out, and it's very clear. And the sound was not very good in there. And here's the thing. So Senator Lee's team didn't want to be out necessarily in the main public venue, especially when he had a speaking gig coming up right away. So we had this back area. Not to mention I had this, a rookie setup with a little laptop and a moderate.
It worked.
Right.
I could hear
but
it.
so we're in this little garage door area. It was the goofiest thing that like the most prestigious interview I could have, and I'm in somebody's garage. I don't know. At any rate, so we're going to come back and have one more segment with Senator Lee, and then you and I will talk about a couple of things. I have some comments on what we are speaking about. So stick with us, folks. We will be right back.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Prairie Patriot Firearms and Training is the region's most complete gun and training center. 5-lane indoor range, a gun shop, and a certified training facility. Firearms training courses are offered daily for new, intermediate, and advanced shooters. If you're not comfortable in a classroom setting, Prairie Patriot offers one-on-one private lessons, from basic self-defense training to concealed weapons testing, along with a full line of guns, ammunition, holsters, and concealment clothing. Prairie Patriot, 3930 Memorial Highway, prairiepatriot.com.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to pull them if you want to hold them. New York To Go. We deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Welcome back. It's No Apologies, your after-hours oasis of sanity. I'm your host, Rick Becker, co-host Lori Hintz, and we are right in the middle of an interview with the great senator from Utah, Mike Lee. Let's just roll it. How do you feel? There are two very, very disparate opinions on the idea of a convention of states. One side, of course, believes that it's too dangerous. We're likely to lose everything. There are so many that aspire to completely demolish the Constitution as it is, whereas on the other side, the viewpoint is the Constitution is already being demolished. We must do something. So where do you stand on a convention of states?
I think it could go either way. I've got some concerns with it. I think it could end badly. I've got a lot of good friends whose opinions I trust and respect, who are fierce defenders of it. So the way I come down on it ultimately is there are two ways to amend the Constitution. One of them is within my control, the other one isn't. Whenever I'm wanting to propose, I've proposed each year I've been in Congress, either proposed or sponsored or co-sponsored legislation dealing with balanced budgets, requiring a balanced budget, and requiring term limits on federal lawmakers. I've proposed those in the manner that I'm allowed to propose them as a federal lawmaker. If states want to call for a convention of the states, they can, and if 2/3 of them do so, Congress must convene.
Interesting. I was a delegate at the Convention of States, the mock Convention of States in, I think it was in Virginia some years ago. And I was on the committee for the term limit amendment. And wow, there was so much debate. We were unable to come up with a specific idea for an amendment. So what you've proposed, is that laid out specifically?
Yep.
Yes. What are you looking at?
What I have proposed, what I have advocated in the past 12 years in either House of Congress.
Okay.
2 terms as a senator, 6 terms in the House. That ought to be enough. I've also supported other amendments that would be 6 terms in the House, 3 in the Senate. Doesn't matter much to me, but I do think there need limits. And if we are to have, if a convention of states is to occur, one of the unresolved questions in my mind, and one of the reasons why I've continued to have concerns with this, I don't know exactly how each state's delegations would be appointed. I want to make sure that we've thought through who's going to be doing the appointing.
Right. That's the key. That's the one, maybe one of a couple of very good arguments that those are against it, as we don't have that control, as you pointed out. What do you think about a term limit for Supreme Court?
I don't like it. It's with good reason that in Article 3 of the Constitution, the Founding Fathers put in place a presumptive life tenure for members of the federal judiciary. The reason is they wanted to put the judiciary outside of and make the judiciary markedly distinct from the 2 political branches. You gain some advantage by having people who can serve for not just many years, but many decades in that position. And I support the lifetime tenure that the Founding Fathers put in place.
One of the things that we mentioned when we started off our interview, that you were working with Bernie Sanders for the AUMF modification or revision. And I saw also where you had publicly agreed with AOC. And I really like that, because I think when you stand on principle, it doesn't matter who your allies are. You don't pick and choose those according to party, pick and choose them according to who has that principle. So are there other areas where you have found, in particular, it was important strategically to find that balance when agreeing publicly or working with someone publicly?
Yeah, constantly. Look, most of my biggest successes in the Senate have come about as a result of unlikely alliances that I've made with Democrats, very often very liberal Democrats. I worked for nearly a decade on criminal justice reform before we got it passed at the end of 2018. Teamed up with Dick Durbin, Cory Booker, and a number of other liberal Democrats on that. Worked with Pat Leahy for many years to end domestic surveillance that was inherent in the bulk telephone metadata collection. He ended that with the Lee-Leahy bill called the USA Freedom Act in 2015. There's another Lee-Leahy Act that we introduced in the last Congress that would overhaul the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act for FISA. Passed in the Senate about a year ago by a vote of 77 to 22. Never got to a vote in the House, but we hope to get a vote on it sometime in this Congress. These things are constant, they're ubiquitous. They are, you don't find these alliances on every issue, because there are some issues on which the two parties are more or less at odds with each other. It's not because they have a petulant desire to be disagreeable. It's more that we represent different constituencies who themselves feel differently.
You bet. So last question for you, Senator Lee. I'm going to circle back to what we started with the AUMF. Do you anticipate that the two parties will be split, with the Republicans split with the, I guess you'd say, the more hawkish neocon sort of group versus the more, I would say, constitutional group? And do you see the Democrats split? And
yes.
You do?
Yes.
Democrats because of the president being, the current president being Democrat, or do they have other reasons they would be opposed to it?
Yes and yes. So you'll see a split among Republicans and Democrats on the National Security Powers Act that I introduced with Senator Sanders and Senator Murphy. You've got groups of hawks among Senate Republicans and among Senate Democrats who are resistant to this kind of change regardless. And you probably get some Democrats who are a little bit less likely to be supportive of this bill because of the current occupant of the White House. But I still think the support is building. I actually think if we could get this teed up for a straight up or down vote, this thing might well pass in this Congress.
Good. Well, I certainly hope so. I've talked with Senator Kramer about it. I would certainly hope he'd support it, and I'd hope that our Senator...
Yeah, I've had a lot of good conversations with Senator Kramer on this issue. He's been very good on these issues. I don't think he's signed on to the bill yet, but I'm optimistic. Given my work with him in the past on a lot of related issues, and I know he's supportive of maintaining the separation of powers.
Perfect. Well, Senator Lee, thank you so much for joining us. I know our audience appreciates it, as do I. So thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, fabulous. I think it's very interesting that you did that visit with him and that interview before the Afghanistan thing broke. So it makes it so much more interesting.
Well, it's funny how things work, right? Because we talked extensively about the AUMFs, and then here and whether it's proper for a president to pull his country into a war which is undeclared, and for it to go on for decades, and have it go across 3 or 4 presidents, and then we have Afghanistan, right? And then also we discussing what's going to happen with regard to if there is a new variant that's starting to take over, and there's a call for a re-mask mandate, and lo and behold,
that
here
happened
we are.
too, right?
And it was very good. I think there were a lot of interesting points. I could have talked to him for a long time. I was respecting what his scheduler had as kind of a time frame. I could have gone on for an hour with him, and in fact, after the camera shut down, we talked for another 20 minutes at least. It turns out he wanted to be a plastic surgeon when he was younger, yes. And the other thing I picked up and talked with him a little bit with his wife, I think him being a senator is a huge sacrifice, both for him and his family. Which is the way it is. When you're doing it for the right reasons, it's a sacrifice. And I respect him for that. So All right, folks, that was the interview with Mike Lee, and we are going to come back, and we've got an executive order from Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. with regard to cybersecurity. We will be right back.
When you're buying windows, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Hi, I'm Jesse with the Window Source. We only sell you the best windows and doors for the best price. Call the Window Source. Just because you pay less doesn't mean you get less.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature Heroes with the region's only Hero meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go. We deliver for you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
From Lambeau Field to your living room. Catch all the Green Bay Packers preseason games exclusively on Beck Sports. Available on KRDK, KNDB, or KNDN TV. The Pack take on the Houston Texans August 14th, followed by the New York Jets August 21st, and end off the preseason with the Buffalo Bills August 28th. Check Beck.Sports to find more scheduling and local channel information.
We're back, and we are going to be talking about an executive order. Now, this one is about cybersecurity, and it's interesting. We are going back in time a little bit to March. That's when this order comes out. It's timely, even though we're a little late on things, because tomorrow President Biden is going to be meeting with various CEOs in tech companies to discuss vulnerabilities in cybersecurity. That is on the heels of having an executive order regarding cybersecurity he did in May after the big attack on the pipeline.
Right, Colonial.
But we have to actually start from the beginning first for our viewers, for ourselves. He had an executive order in March, which laid the foundation for his executive order in May, which laid the foundation for him meeting with the various, it's a cute title to this article. From Gizmodo. It says, Biden summons masters of the universe to help solve America's cybersecurity problem. So first off,
that's not funny.
There's an understanding that there's a cybersecurity problem, which there
Right.
clearly is. But tomorrow he's going to be meeting with Apple CEO, Amazon CEO, Microsoft CEO, various banks like, whatever, the big bank CEOs. So all of these masters of the universe are going to come together. I am going to be very, very interested to see what comes out, because it always scares me when big government is working with big business. So we're going to see. But let's start from the beginning.
Well, the other thing that
Yes.
you need to know about this is that this actual executive order, notice on the continuation of the national emergency with respect to significant malicious cyber-enabled activities, was originally put together by Obama.
Yes.
So he
Yep.
just...
This is an extension.
It's an extension.
But every time there's an extension, then it reenacts everything that was in it before.
And gets exponentially worse.
Right. And it's another good thing to know is, he put this in effect, in effect in March. But we had over June and July at least 26 major cybersecurity hacks in the system in just those 2 months. Hence the need for something to change, because whatever they're doing is not working.
Exactly.
Let's pull up that first graphic. This is the notice on the continuation of the national emergency with respect to significant malicious cyber-enabled activities. And it starts on April 1st, 2015. President Obama declared a national emergency to deal with the unusual and extraordinary threat to national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States, constituted by the increasing prevalence and severity of malicious cyber-enabled activities originating from or directed by persons located in whole or in substantial part outside of the United States. Now, let me just take a little break here. One of the things we have to dissect, right, is that we have a significant problem.
Right.
A problem which is within the purview of the federal government. So many of the things that President Biden and really any of them deal with shouldn't even be an issue for the federal government because it would be overreach. This is within their proper purview.
That's one of the rare cases where government probably needs to
Exactly. But the thing then is that because there's a real threat, there is a real problem, and it is really their job to take care of it, we give them the leeway. But the issue is then, what is the fallout from that? Because once that leeway is given, once that proper purview is identified, then suddenly, Katie bar the door, government overreach everywhere. Right. Now, one of the examples I want to give of that is they say, and we'll see additional slides, they talk about persons or activities originating from or directed by persons located in whole or substantial part outside the United States. One of the concerns that we have is that a lot of the stuff that takes place by your average citizens in the United States may be routed through servers or routers or whatever the heck it is outside of the United States. Right. So it can be something that's just, you're in the U.S., you're a United States citizen, it gets routed out. Suddenly now they can say, wait a minute, this was in whole or in part outside. And so there's the potential for egregious overreach and egregious violation of privacy. And that's why, even though we say this is proper for the federal government, we still have to be vigilant in monitoring that they do not overreach.
So we're going to go back to what Barack Obama said in his original one and then just go over that a little bit for you here with our next slide. So I, Barack Obama, find that the increasing prevalence and severity of malicious cyber-enabled activities originating from or directed by persons located in whole or in substantial part outside the United States constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with this threat. All property and interests in property that are in the United States that hereafter come within the United States or that are or hereafter come within the possession or control of any United States person of the following persons are blocked and may not be transferred, paid, exported, withdrawn, or otherwise dealt in. Any person determined by the Secretary of the Treasury in consultation with the Attorney General and the Secretary of State to be responsible for or complicit in or to have engaged in, directly or indirectly, cyber-enabled activities originating from or directed by persons located in whole or in substantial part outside the United States that are reasonably likely to result in or have materially contributed to a significant threat to the national security, foreign policy, or economic health or financial stability of the United States that have the purpose of or effect of blah, blah, blah. Now we get down to the rub of what the actual...
Well, here's what we're seeing is that, again, it's the proper purpose of the federal government to try and put a halt to these types of things.
But once the genie is out of the bottle,
right. Well,
there's
and
no putting
the
it
way
back in.
the way things are phrased to be all-encompassing
Right.
are so general that if the government or any actor within the government was going to be malicious, they can trap you in, because when you're talking about direct or indirect, yada, 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 they can make anyone.
Yeah, that's right.
They can make anyone fall into that category. And again, the reason for vigilance. And the thing is that it's not beyond bad actors in the government. I mean, look at what we've seen over the past 7 years. I mean, phenomenal bad actors in the government, from NSA to FBI to the executive branch.
DOJ.
I mean, DOJ, it's all over.
Exactly.
We have to be so vigilant. They go on. Let's pull up that next portion here. It says, they're going on, that has the purpose or effect of harming or otherwise significantly compromising the provision of services by a computer or network or of computers that support one or more entities in a critical infrastructure sector, significantly compromising the provision of services by one or more entities in a critical infrastructure sector. Both of those are good. Causing a significant disruption to the availability of a computer or network of computers, or causing a significant misappropriation of funds or economic resources, trade secrets, personal identifiers, or financial information for commercial or competitive advantage or private financial gain. Now,
all of these have happened. Every single one of those infrastructure issues with computer-wise, also the fact that they've taken gobs of intellectual information.
China.
I mean, China, right? Exactly.
Right.
Russia.
So what's fascinating is that this is a re-upping of an executive order that was done in, what did we say, 2015?
Right.
2015. But what have they done about it? China is
Nothing's
still
changed.
doing whatever
In fact,
the hell they want.
worse.
And like I say, we just had 26 hacks. So maybe, hey, listen, maybe Biden is doing the right thing. I'm skeptical. But something needs to be done. I would think that the federal government could pull a team together that is the best in the world.
You'd think.
For protecting us from a cybersecurity standpoint. I would think so. I wouldn't think you'd have to rely on Tim Cook and the other CEOs. We're going to continue on with this executive order. Next and final segment. Stick with us.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Spas, etc. Yeah. You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit. Plus, Nathan's Hot Dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York to go. We deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Welcome back. It's the final segment. You made it. It's almost time for cookies and ice cream. Yes. Congratulations. All right. We are going to finish up with this continuation of the national emergency, a national emergency that is really forever because cybersecurity threats are never going away.
Why do these things never sunset? I mean, seriously, why is nothing in government ever sunsetted? Is that a phrase that nobody understands? Or?
Lori?
Yeah?
Why is the sky blue?
It just sucks. It just sucks that way,
Okay.
doesn't it? Okay.
Where are we at here? We are. Now bring up the next portion of this extension. Any person determined by the Secretary of Treasury in consultation with the Attorney General and the Secretary of State. So these three peeps are going to have a lot of control with regard to this. If they have determined that to have materially assisted, sponsored, or provided financial, material, or technological support for, or goods or services in support of, any activity described in various subsections of this section, or any person whose property interests in the property are blocked pursuant to this order. Again, this is just really broad. I don't know. I mean, let's roll on to the next one. I don't even want to
Plus, when you make everything illegal, then everybody's a criminal.
Well, right.
Which is going to be
Remember the words of Cardinal Richelieu.
Which was?
Give me 6 lines written by an honest man, and I will find enough to hang him. That's strongly paraphrased.
Ooh, okay.
All right, so next up, I hereby determine that the making of donations of the type of articles specified by, to, or for the benefit of any person whose property and interests in property are blocked pursuant to Section 1 of this order would seriously impair my ability to deal with the national emergency declared in this order, and I hereby prohibit such donations as provided by Section 1 of this order.
Question, does this include political donations?
It could. I wonder if it does. I'm assuming it doesn't. If it depends who the donations are to,
Just
right?
saying.
Okay, next. We've got the prohibitions in Section 1 of this order include but are not limited to the making of any contribution or provision of funds, goods, or services by, to, or for the benefit of any person whose property and interest in property are blocked pursuant to this order, and the receipt of any contribution of or provision of funds, goods, or services from any such person.
Boy,
so
what
basically,
are they not covering? They're covering everything.
you can't. Right. If you are determined to have been, I guess, alleged to be guilty, because it's not that you're guilty, right? I don't know if they assume that maybe you're a bad actor.
Maybe you're just
Do they
accused.
put you in prison until they determine guilt? But then the thing is, whether you're in prison or not, nobody can help you. Nobody can give you anything. Anyone who gives you anything is in trouble. So how long does this last? Is this like being an enemy combatant?
It is.
If
and
the
you're gonna be
government
a
decides
political
that we
prisoner.
think that you may have been directly or indirectly, in whole or in part, outside of the United States helping someone, then nobody can send you cookies or ice cream.
I'm just thinking, that we have political prisoners all the time, but this would be a great way to abuse it. I mean, I don't want to say Julian Assange, but I also, I think about people who have been accused of things who are just out there in limbo.
Right. And again, it's a weird balance, right? Because I'm in favor that we got to get a handle on this. It's a good thing that federal government should do. I just don't trust government.
I know, right? Okay, we're
I mean, that's
almost
the
done. We got a
problem.
couple more here. I hereby find that the unrestricted immigrant and non-immigrant entry into the United States of aliens determined to meet one or more of the criteria in Section 1A of this order would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, and I hereby suspend entry into the United States as immigrants or non-immigrants of such persons. Now, that's an interesting thing coming from Obama and then Biden.
Well, it is interesting because they're worried about, they don't want bad actors when it comes to cybersecurity coming into the United States.
But other terrorists are totally okay.
But they have an open border policy on the south.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess if you identify bad actors in the cyber world, and they're going to come and they're going to fly in to O'Hare or wherever, then I guess you can stop them because you're checking the passport. But if you have an open border on our southern border, what's the point of having this part of the executive order?
By the way, as a side note, our northern border was extended. Its closure was extended recently
because
as well,
of Biden.
Seriously. All right, last one says, any transaction that evades or avoids has the purpose of evading or avoiding, causes a violation of, or attempts to violate any of the prohibitions set forth in this order is prohibited. Any conspiracy formed to violate any of the prohibitions set forth in this order is also prohibited. So, anything to do with cyber stuff is completely...
Yeah.
You know what? It's so easy to overreach as it is, let alone give an all-encompassing executive order that gives absolute power to the executive branch. And that's a real problem.
Right. What we'll have to do is cover the executive order that was given out, the new one, which was in middle of May, and see how that pertains to what's going to happen. We'll be able to keep our eyes on the big meeting with the masters of the universe. And you know what's going to be interesting, what's going to be really interesting is Biden's capacity for communication with these people.
So
it's going to be interesting.
limited. Yeah, that's frightening.
All right, Lori, what are we doing tomorrow night?
Oh, I'm so excited. I got to meet this very, very lovely lady when I was in Nashville, and you will get to meet her virtually because she will be on remotely. Kelly Ward, the Arizona State Party GOP chair, who is rolling with the forensic audit in Arizona. We'll ask her all sorts of questions about that, and things are heating up there as well, so that'll be excellent.
Yeah.
And then you have a guest as well.
I do. I'm not going to talk about that person right now. It's top secret. You're going to have to tune in to find out.
Okay.
We will catch you next time, folks. Tune back in.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.